In the bright hall of a bustling Yoruba wedding ceremony, the air was filled with music, laughter, and the smell of jollof rice and fried meat. Adebayo, the groom, stood adjusting his agbada nervously. Today was meant to be the happiest day of his life, but there was a knot in his stomach. His aunt, Auntie Bose, approached him quickly. "Adebayo, you know Tolu, your friend from university, has been asking to speak at the reception," she said, her voice lowered. Adebayo frowned slightly. "Yes, Auntie, I know, but it's okay. He doesn't need to speak." Auntie Bose's eyebrows knitted together with concern. "But he seems hurt," she pressed on. "He's your best friend, Abi?" Adebayo shook his head, forcing a smile. "It's fine, Auntie. We agreed there's no need." Auntie Bose walked away, confusion clouding her face. As the ceremony continued, Zara, the bride, looked radiant in her traditional ivory lace gown. Her friends surrounded her, adjusting her jewel and laughing at old stories. Yet when Tolu approached, her smile wavered. "Tolu, long time," Zara said, trying to keep her voice light. "Ah, Zara, congrats," Tolu said with a grin, his eyes searching hers. "Thanks. You're coming to the reception, right?" she asked, though her voice carried a hint of unease. "Yes, of course. I wouldn't miss it for anything," Tolu responded, though he couldn't shake the shadow of their last conversation. As the sun dipped below the horizon and guests gathered into the reception hall, Tolu took his place among the attendees, his mind racing. He had tried to ignore the nagging feeling that something was off between Adebayo and Zara. He couldn't shake the thought that Adebayo was keeping secrets. He watched the couple swaying on the dance floor, Adebayo's smile seeming strained. Tolu felt an urge, a need for answers gnawing at him. Later, under the dim glow of fairy lights, Zara began her vows. As she spoke, her voice broke with emotion. "I promise to stand by you through joy and pain," she began, her words touching every heart in the audience. But then, her eyes flickered over to Tolu, and for a moment, the world seemed to pause. "When you stood by me, Adebayo, just like Tolu did during our hardest times." Tolu's heart stopped. He wasn't expecting to be mentioned. His presence in her vows felt like more than just an acknowledgement. It was a reminder. Adebayo stiffened beside Zara, his smile fading as a ripple went through the crowd. The whispers began, subtle yet sharp. "Why mention him?" one guest whispered. "Weren't they close before the wedding?" another asked, eyes narrowing at the mention of Tolu. Tolu felt the heat of dozens of eyes on him, each gaze filled with curiosity, some even with accusation. As Zara continued, Adebayo's eyes darted nervously. The secret he had kept was delicate, balanced precariously between love and loyalty. The knot in his stomach tightened. After the vows, as applause erupted, Adebayo pulled Zara aside, his expression tense. "Zara, why did you mention Tolu?" he asked in a hushed voice. "But Adebayo," she replied softly, trying to hold his gaze. "He was there for us both. We owe him." She stopped, realizing it was not what he wanted to hear. Her voice trailed off as Adebayo's jaw clenched. Tolu stepped outside, needing air. The murmurs and the atmosphere of suspicion were suffocating. He reached for his phone, contemplating whether to call his parents and tell them to expect him home early. Just then, Zara approached him. "Tolu, I didn't mean to. And now I'm worried," she said, words tripping over each other. "It's okay, Zara," Tolu replied, his voice steady but his mind in turmoil. "But something is wrong, isn't it?" Zara hesitated, looked back to see Adebayo watching them through the crowd. "We need to talk later. I think you deserve to know everything." Inside, Adebayo paced, ignoring the petty conversations around him about who wore what and who didn't greet who properly. His heart was pounding, the need to protect his new marriage clashing with the truths he had hidden under layers of pretense. He resolved to keep it together. Just until tonight ended, just until he could speak to Zara alone. As the night wore on, the tension was palpable. Tolu couldn't relax, not with the weight of unspoken words hanging in the air. He watched as Adebayo entertained guests, the smile not reaching his eyes. Then an unexpected announcement crackled over the speakers. "Ladies and gentlemen," the MC began, "a special friend wants to say a few words." A shockwave went through Adebayo. This was not part of the plan. Tolu felt his heart jump. It was his chance. Unexpected, unplanned, but there. The MC's invitation left Adebayo without a choice. As he approached the mic, Tolu caught Adebayo's gaze. There was a flicker of something, fear, anger, or maybe regret. Tolu cleared his throat, the room's attention all on him now. "I am honored to be here," he began, his voice steady but resolute. "To stand by people I love as family." Every word Tolu spoke carried years of friendship, years of hidden truths. He didn't aim to ruin anyone's day, but he couldn't let the lies continue. As he glanced at Adebayo, he sensed this was a moment that would define all of them, whether they wanted it or not. "And though sometimes we learn things we wish we hadn't," he continued, his eyes drifting briefly to Zara. "It's our love, our real connections that bind us." The atmosphere shifted. You could almost feel the crowd's attention teetering, leaning in for the real story. As Tolu paused, he sensed the weight of Adebayo's stare, heavy with meaning one could only decipher in that tense silence. Would he finally reveal all? Would he expose the cracks beneath the surface that Adebayo so desperately tried to plaster over? Adebayo stood rigid, every muscle in his body tense. He had hoped this would pass, that fading pretenses might one day turn to truth, but now that was shattered. Taking a deep breath, Tolu continued, feeling the press of Zara's eyes, pleading silently. "We all have our parts to play," Tolu said, voice firm, "and I hope, for today, we find peace among those bonds that last a lifetime." Zara's heart hammered against her chest as Tolu finished speaking and the applause began. She turned to Adebayo, the truth hanging between them like a storm cloud. "Can we talk?" she whispered, eyes shining with unshed tears. "Yes," Adebayo said finally, his voice low. "We need to." As they moved away from the crowd's buzz, leaving behind the festivity for the quiet shadows of the garden, Tolu watched them go, knowing that what they shared, the secrets they held, were about to burst forth in undeniable emotion. And as the night deepened, the question lingered, unsaid but palpable. Would the truth break them apart or bind them together forever? In the quiet of the garden, the crickets sang their nocturnal song as Zara and Adebayo faced each other. Zara's eyes glistened in the dim light, torn between the love she had and the truth she carried. "Adebayo," Zara began, her voice a whisper caught in the breeze. "It's time we stop pretending. What are we doing?" His eyes mirrored the storm brewing inside him, but his words faltered. The weight of their reality pressed down on his shoulders. "I thought I could keep it together," he admitted, his voice shaking. "I thought I was protecting us." Tolu watched from a distance, the echoes of his speech lingering in the night air. He saw the silhouettes of the couple blend into the shadows, their unity fractured and fragile. As he turned to return to the hall, he nearly collided with Mama Mojisola, the elderly village woman who had been like a spiritual compass for many in the community. Her presence was formidable, yet comforting. "Ah, Tolu," she said, her voice smooth yet wise. "You carry many burdens tonight. Come, walk with me." Inside the reception hall, the atmosphere had cooled. Guests whispered in gossipy circles, oblivious to the deeper struggles transpiring outside. Adebayo's mind flickered with memories of late nights with Tolu, secrets shared, and the unspoken bond now teetering on betrayal. "I didn't want this," he finally said to Zara, his voice breaking. "I thought I was doing right." "By hiding?" she asked, tears streaming down her face. "Secrets have a way of destroying the very things we try to protect." Out in the garden, Tolu and Mama Mojisola walked slowly, their steps cushioned by the soft earth. She looked at him with eyes that seemed to see past the surface, deeply into the soul. "Tolu, revenge does not fill the void," she said, her words deliberate and heavy. "It devours from within, leaving nothing but emptiness." Tolu felt a pang of guilt, the truth in her words undeniable. His heart clenched in silent protest against the path he had set. "I didn't want to hurt them, but I couldn't stand the lies." Mama Mojisola nodded, understanding. "The truth indeed is a sharp vessel, but if wielded wrongly it becomes a weapon." Her voice carried the weight of the scriptures she knew so well. "Remember Romans 12. Do not repay anyone evil for evil. Be careful to do what is right in the eyes of everyone." Tolu stopped, the words resonating through him like a current. He closed his eyes for a moment, feeling the slow creak of conviction turn within him. Back in the shadows of the garden, Adebayo fell silent as Zara spoke again. "We can't continue like this, Adebayo. I can't live in the shadow of what might be revealed." Adebayo nodded slowly. He knew now more than ever that the cost of silence was too high. With trembling hands, he took hers. "Zara, can we Can we start again? With truth this time? Zara's eyes softened, searching his. Maybe, but we need to face what we ran from. A glimmer of hope flickered through her uncertainty. We owe it to ourselves, and to Tolu. Adebayo squeezed her hands, nodding. It didn't erase the past, but perhaps they could rebuild what was shattered. The reception buzzed with oblivious revelry, the guests still dancing and laughing as if the world had not shifted for the couple outside. Inside this fissure, Tolu remained with Mama Mojisola, contemplating her wisdom. "It's not too late to make it right, my son," she said softly, a gentle smile touching her lips. "But how?" Tolu asked, voice barely more than a whisper, emotions raw and unruly. She reached out, her hand resting lightly on his shoulder, grounding him. "Imagine if Christ kept the score of our wrongs," she said gently, her voice a salve for aching wounds. "True healing begins with grace and forgiveness." Tolu's heart clenched, the grace of those words sinking into his every pore. He realized he had been a prisoner of his own making, shackled to the bitterness he felt. Could he release it and find freedom? As the music inside slowed to a gentle rhythm, Zara and Adebayo returned to the hall, the fatigue of truth-telling evident on their faces. The atmosphere shifted as whispers spread, tremors of curiosity or judgment. It didn't matter anymore. Adebayo caught Tolu's eye across the room. There was a silent communication, a bridge of years not so easily burned. He nodded to Tolu, a gesture of acknowledgement, vulnerability, and plea. Mama Mojisola watched as Tolu approached his friends. Her faith lent courage that others might have faltered beneath. As Tolu reached them, he paused for a moment, the weight of his decision clear. "I'm sorry," he started, voice catching like a tender chord. He met Adebayo's pained stare and Zara's expectant eyes. "I've been so angry, but I see now that this isn't the way. If we're going to move forward, it must be together." Zara, surprised by the change in his demeanor, whispered, "Together?" Adebayo nodded slowly, the tension easing from his shoulders. "Tolu, it has always been about friendship first. Thank you. Thank you for reminding us of that." A gentle peace settled among them, not erasing the scars, but allowing space for healing. Tolu stepped back, relief uncoiling the tightness in his chest. The room felt lighter, if only by the fraction of potential forgiveness. Mama Mojisola watched from the side, her heart full. The spiritual seed sown through her gentle guidance in scripture had taken root in the turmoil, nudging her community toward redemption rather than ruin. As the celebration rolled on, the three friends found a quiet moment to sit together, the ripple of music softening around them. There would be more conversations, more revelations perhaps, but for now, they had clarity. And for Tolu, that meant understanding that true peace came not through avenging wrongs, but in the profound grace of forgiveness. A lesson taught through the ages, given new life tonight. As the final words of the Yoruba prayer floated through the air, they remained, a trio of souls mending beneath the stars. The story of revenge had shifted, turning instead into one of faith, redemption, and the quiet majesty of second chances.
Thank you so much for listening to this intriguing story. I hope it touched you or taught you something. For more stories like this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the page. And guys, if you'd like to see a part 2, or you have thoughts on what happened, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next story.